Look, we're skipping the fluff today. This explainer is a straight-up, factual briefing on hexavalent chromium. We're going to look at exactly what this hazard is, the physical damage it causes, and your employer's legal obligations to protect you.
First things first, if you weld stainless steel, if you work with chromium alloys, or if you heat up chrome-coated metals, you are breathing in a highly hazardous chemical byproduct. Period. There's really no getting around it. And exposure isn't just coming from stainless steel. Whether you're smelting ferrochromium, working around chrome plating operations, or even handling certain Portland cements, you are releasing toxic dusts and fumes literally right into your breathing zone. Now, I'm not going to sugarcoat the biological reality here. Hexavalent chromium causes cancer. OSHA and major health agencies officially classify all of these compounds as known occupational carcinogens. But even beyond lung and sinus cancer, the physical damage is, well, it's severe. Breathing this stuff in can actually eat away and destroy the tissue inside your nose, a perforated septum. And on your skin, it creates these deep, incredibly slow-healing sores that guys in the industry call chrome holes. Nasty stuff. Because it's so toxic, the law actually steps in with some very specific numbers. 5 micrograms per cubic meter of air. That is your permissible exposure limit, or PEL. Think of that as the absolute maximum legal exposure you're allowed to have over an 8-hour shift. But then there's the action level. That's 2.5 micrograms. At exactly half the PEL, your employer's legal obligations are officially triggered. So what does this actually mean for you on the floor? Well, hitting that 2.5 action level forces your employer to start mandatory air monitoring and medical surveillance. But if your air tests at or above that 5 microgram PEL we just talked about, the law forces them to implement immediate physical controls. And to meet those legal limits, employers have to follow what's called a hierarchy of controls. They've got to start with source capture. Think local exhaust ventilation right at the weld, or process changes, like switching to TIG welding. They have to do this before they just hand you personal protective equipment. I want to be really clear here. Respirators are the absolute last line of defense. They are only legally acceptable when physical and work practice controls are literally impossible to do, or they just aren't enough to drop your exposure below that PEL. So on top of controls, your employer has strict, non-negotiable monitoring obligations. We're talking initial and periodic air sampling, free exams by a licensed medical professional, dedicated washrooms so you don't cross-contaminate your stuff, and written notification of your exposure results within 15 days. Because at the end of the day, you have an absolute right to your exposure data. If your air is tested, your employer must give you exact written results and lay out the corrective actions they're taking. It's your health and it's your air. So, are you going to demand to see your shop's monitoring logs tomorrow?